The Shep Naz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shep Naz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And as you might be anticipating, today is
Worship Wednesday.
Yes.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
All right, so today we have another special guest. Of course, it's always special when Pastors Zack and Noah are in studio.
Shucks.
Thank you. Yes, but even more so now because Jim Franklin has joined us.
Welcome, Jim.
He was just walking by, and we were like, "Take a seat, Jim. It's time."
It's time.
No bribery or nothing.
I warned him before that it was going to be an intervention. He just doesn't know on what topic. So he's sorting through all the things that are going wrong in his life and trying to figure out which one we're going to pick on.
Well, good news is you're in good company then.
So, yeah. So we'll decide which scab are we going to pick at first, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, like we've talked about when we introduced this podcast, the whole idea is we just want to teach you about worship and what worship is, how we do it, what we do it like. Mm-hmm. And so far, it's just been me and Noah and Joe. And so you've got a lot of perspective on the guys that are picking the songs and up front and leading these songs. Yeah. But as we've said, worship is not just singing a song. And God has gifted all of us on our team with very unique giftings. And God has gifted Jim with amazing skills to play guitar. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get somebody's perspective who's not necessarily up front leading a song with a microphone.
Yeah.
But
or our job either.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, exactly.
You're volunteering your time and your talent's awesome.
Exactly. You could be home watching TV right now, and we suckered you into sticking around with us for the night. So
not everybody stayed.
No. Shots fired. Shots fired.
But
love it. But yeah, so if you haven't met Jim, this is Jim. Want to introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do on the team?
Name's Jim Franklin. You probably know my wife, Michelle, who's here every week, and our two kids have been running around these halls for a long time now, and now they're not kids anymore. But I play guitar, and I play electric, bass, acoustic, just about anything with strings that these guys would need me on. So,
which has been very helpful to have multi-talented people on our team, because when I forget to schedule somebody and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, Jim, can you just play bass this week instead?" It's always been amazing to jump where we need you. So thank you for that. But Jim, so you said they've been running these halls. Your kids have been running these halls for a long time. Can you tell us how long you've been going to Shepherd and what brought you guys here?
We started coming here I started coming here Christmas time of 2007. And a good friend of mine that still goes to church here, and he said, "Hey, come over and play for our Christmas program. You'll know all the music." And I came over to play for that, and Amy Garner, who I'd had experience serving with in the past, was the worship leader here at the time. So between Jeff Linker and Amy Garner having me over to play for Christmas program, I've stuck ever since, and
that's
my
awesome.
Wife came over shortly after that.
All right,
Awesome.
You've invoked the Jeff Linker name, so I wish I had a sounder for that. Jeff Linker. I'm going to go back in your history a little bit and tell us a little bit how you came to know Jeff Linker.
Jeff and I sold cars together 30 years ago now. In 1993, 94-ish, we met. And I wasn't completely on the Christian journey that I am now, but Jeff kind of discipled me at that point in my life, and a large reason why I'm sitting here today is because of Jeff.
That's awesome, man.
So I was kind of jumping on that because I might have had a little outside knowledge regarding that. And I guess one of those things that I think maybe we don't always think about in terms of the worship team and so forth is that it can also serve as an outreach. And just like, Jeff was inviting, he knew you had skills and talents in a particular way and trying to encourage you to kind of go that direction. That is also another way by which we can be inviting friends to come to church and say, hey, one of the things that this was probably in the podcast with Jeremy Height, and he is just a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that we were talking about is, how do you share, and how do you start that connection with somebody? And one of the things that stuck out to me that he said that I really hadn't given much thought to before, and I've been a Christian for a long time, but he said, well, I asked them if they could help me with something. And when you ask someone if they can help you with something, then that instills value in them. They recognize that you value them as a person, that you're not just trying to help them, but you recognize that they might be able to help you. And so in that same way, Jeff was able to kind of pull you in a little bit because he's like, you could help us out here. So, all right. So I wanted to jump in that, get back to it, Zach, here.
No, that's great. See, I'm learning too. I didn't know that whole story and connection. So that's great. Well, you had mentioned, actually perfect segue there, that when you had met Jeff, you said you weren't walking the Christian journey, if you will. Totally up to you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how much would you share any of your story of, how you came to know Jesus and what that looked like and how you are here where you're at now?
Sure. I wasn't raised in church. I was never what I would consider myself. I was never at a point where I would consider myself a non-believer. I always believed that there was a higher power. We did attend church, on occasion. I was part of a youth group briefly, but wasn't the church camp kid and everything revolving around church like my life is now, kind of.
Yeah.
But and then I met Jeff, and years of him discipling me and not really ever preaching, you're going to hell, sinner type of a thing, but more of a just like Joe was saying, hey, can you help us out? Hey, you want to come here? Like he was leading a choir at the time. You want to come hear our choir sing, things of that nature. So I began attending church events, and then Jeff and we didn't fall apart. We just kind of lost touch for a couple years in there. And I actually got saved at a business conference that had Sunday worship meetings. This was in 99, Labor Day weekend of 1999.
Nice.
It was the first time that I remember actually, praying a prayer of salvation and all that. And, went through, it's never a straight path since then. Yeah. A couple years after that, my wife and I decided we'd find a church, and we found a church right down the street from us, and it was a Nazarene church, and we knew nothing about Nazarene churches. And first day there, I hadn't touched a guitar in probably 5 years at this point, and the first day, our first Sunday there, we really enjoyed the music. We were, lured in by the music, and I went out and bought a guitar just because I wanted my kids to be raised around music and wanted to start playing again. And after a few weeks attending, I kind of asked them, I said, hey, do you mind if I come to your Wednesday night practices? I don't want to play on Sunday. I just want to practice with you guys on Wednesday nights and learn to play again. Yes. Well, that lasted about an hour into the first practice, and the bass player said, here, play this part on Sunday when you play it. And I'm like, no, I'm not playing on Sunday. And she's like, no, yeah, you're playing on Sunday. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's the way this works.
Yep, exactly.
And I've been playing in churches for the last 23 years. So.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's a really cool way of getting into it. That's hilarious. Well, when, do you remember the first time that, music in general was a part of your life? Like, when did you first pick up a guitar? Why did you want to play?
Music was always a part of my life. I was never a musician when I was younger. My mother was a tremendous saxophone player, and my father wasn't a musician but was a music fan. So I think I became a music fan. My dad introduced me to music of the 30s and 40s and the 50s, and so I grew up listening to that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then kind of found my own way into like a classic rock type of a guy, but never picked up guitar till I was 19 years old. And decided that I wanted to play guitar to meet girls.
Right? As many of us do.
He was the first guy that ever did that.
Right. Yeah. You invented a cool thing.
And it worked too. Got a great wife.
There you go. Exactly. It's perfect. That's awesome, man. Well, now that you are here with us at Shepherd, Actually, no, you want to ask this question? I don't want to take your question away from you.
Oh yeah, this is my one question I get to ask you.
And I almost stole it. Sorry.
Like, he prepared ahead of time. Like, this is the one I got,
Hey,
guys.
I'm just here just to listen. But so I know it's easy kind of for me and Zach or for the vocalist to worship kind of in an outward way on a Sunday morning. But what does worship mean for you playing guitar and for just being a volunteer? What is, when you think of worship and when you actively worship, what does that mean for you?
Well, I think like most folks, I try and always be in a period of worship. And I don't think worship is always, listening to music or whatever. It can be reading the word. It can be prayer. It can be the breath prayers that we say as we're going into a business meeting or whatever. But and it's no different than, when I play here on Sunday mornings. And we may talk about this later with some of the other bands that I play in, but it's nice on a Sunday morning just to play to an audience of one. And that's the one thing I try and remind myself every Sunday is that, I'm not out here playing to 200, 300, 400 people when everybody watching on TV. I'm playing to an audience of one. And that one deserves my best. And it allows me, and I try, as an accompanist. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
it's a tough word to say. Accompanist.
Yeah, all that practice in front of the mirror paid off.
That's right. But as an accompanist, I try and listen to the lyrics and the words of the song. And we do. You guys pick such great songs that we do. It's it's easy to get into just a worship mindset. You may not always see it, but there's quite a few times back there that I'm wiping the tears out of my eyes and that. So, but yeah, the make a long answer short, which or a short answer long, which I've already done. But it's mainly just to adopt that mindset of playing to an audience of one.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm going to ask another question.
Oh,
I don't know if this is loud, but okay, go ahead.
I don't think this was in my contract.
I only get one question.
I am union.
So you mentioned you play in other bands as well. So what's kind of your mindset, or how is your mindset different from playing out at a gig or playing, in church on Sunday?
The mindset is different just in who I'm playing to.
Yeah.
When I'm playing a gig with my covers band, I look at it more from the standpoint of God playing through me to others. And when I play here, it's more of God using me.
Yeah, that's great.
If that makes sense at all.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I might know at least a couple of your experiences. They've now passed. This group has passed on now, but you were playing with Midnight Clear for a long time, and so that was kind of that was like a September through December thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that one, but also tell us what other things you're involved in.
I play in an acoustic covers trio, more classic rock type stuff, folky type of, country rock, funk, whatever you want. But and then I also play in Ohio's foremost outlaw Christian band. God's Dirt just recently joined God's Dirt here a few months back. And I had an opportunity to join them in like 2004, 2005 when they were first getting started. And it just wasn't good timing for me then in my life. But now it's, it gives me another outlet, another opportunity to reach more people.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I assume Rooster is still the... Is he?
Rooster has retired.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah, Rooster has retired, but he's, wrote 75% of the songs that we do. And
Is that a nickname, Rooster?
No, that's his
real name.
That's his given name.
I was about to say, that's such a cool nickname. I need a nickname like that. Like,
Do you need a nickname?
Noah,
I'm pretty
that's so
sure it is a
boring.
nickname. I'm pretty sure it is.
I need something cool like
So
that.
put it in the comments down
let's
below
see,
what we should nickname Noah.
Give Noah his nickname. Go with any other farm animal that you can come up with.
I will now go by Donkey.
Come on, donkey.
That's the perfect name. That's a perfect name. I love it. Well, Jim, I just want to personally say I love having you on the team, man. And I know I speak for everybody on our team. We love having you. Even just over the past couple years that we've been here at Shepherd, just watching you really kind of just get in your element. I don't know what it was, but I remember there was like a Sunday where it was like a light bulb switched and it was like, oh, Jim's in his thing right now. And I've just been loving getting to worship with you and play music with you. So we're grateful that you're on the team, man.
Same. I'm thankful for the opportunity, and it's great to play with all you guys. And if I could say one thing, I love the one thing I love about Shepherd is the multi-generationality of the worship team.
Yep.
And it's neat that, we talked earlier about, my kids running the halls here for 17 years now. Yep. And it's neat that, there's Sundays I can get up here and, someone will be playing keyboards that I knew when they were like 4 years old or 2 years old or firstborn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jenny Linker.
Yeah, Jenny Linker. The whole Linker family.
Yeah.
And, there's any Sunday you can get up there, there's anything from teens to 60 years old on a Sunday, on that same stage. And we all mesh and gel so well together, I think.
Yep,
so.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty when you have a team that is there for the same reason. We're all there to worship Jesus, and you can't put an age on that. When we're just worship Jesus together, unifies us all like crazy.
Amen.
One thing I wanted to hit before we wrap up, and we're getting about that time, but I just wanted to kind of let the listeners in on something. A lot of times you'll hear Jim playing like a lead line, kind of like a little solo line, maybe between the verses or right before a chorus or after a chorus, going back into it. And, I want people to realize that Zack and Noah are not handing them printed music that says play these particular notes.
Nope.
We use chord charts around here, and so basically,
I wouldn't know what to do if they did give me.
So that was definitely, when Zack was talking about how kind of it's developed for you over time. One thing I definitely noticed in the past couple years is I know that you're spending time practicing. You can tell that you're spending time practicing. So I'm sure there's even some of those worship moments when you're alone and practicing and like, how can I express this? Because you're like working within the chord structure of the song, but then you're kind of figuring out those little lead lines and little solo parts or whatever might complement what's going on in the rest of the music. So for anybody that thought every single little thing is planned out, no, there's a lot of creativity every Sunday. And in fact, if you decided to, like some of us nuts that are here for every single service, the first one and the second one, you would hear a little bit different playing between the first service and the second service, just because it just might hit a different way on that particular time. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that a little bit about how you kind of figure out what you're going to play.
A lot of listening, a lot of listening to the songs beforehand, and it seems like over the last 5 years or so, I hear things better. If that makes any kind of sense at all, as I get older, I tend to hear the other parts of music, things that I'd never heard before. And a lot of these songs I can listen to and hear something different in them each time. Yep. And I always like looking at different versions of songs too, where if I can take, like, we played Jesus Paid It All tonight, and I'm real familiar with the Christian Stanfield version, and have seen him perform that live and everything. And so it's nice that, and I know these songs and can just pull things from, different places. And
great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I really appreciate the effort. You talked about I'm doing this for an audience of one, and he deserves the best. And I really understand how that comes across when obviously you've been preparing for that moment. So, Zack or Noah, any last comments before we close out today?
I'm at my limit.
Yeah, you passed your limit. No, again, I would just say, for Jim again, and for the whole team. We're just so blessed. I mean, like we said earlier, you're a volunteer. You have a full-time job. You got a family. You could be doing 100 other things right now, and you're giving up your time to not only practice on your own, but to come and rehearse on Tuesday nights and to be a part of this podcast right now. And we're just so blessed with people who just truly care. And so thank you. Thank you for caring. We really appreciate it.
All right, we'll leave it there. We thank you so much for joining us today. And as Jim was talking, he says, I listen to this music, and every time I hear a little bit something different. You can apply that in your worship. You can apply that when you're studying Scripture. You might be reading the same Scripture over and over again, and the Spirit just continues to reveal different things to you. You can keep up with everything that's going on with the church by going to shepnaz.org. Also, encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Zack and Noah, and for Jim Franklin, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.